Well, but we don't adopt curriculum. So that would be brought to the board, right? Like that would be brought as a recommendation to the board. But from what I understand, we didn't have enough of a quorum. We didn't have enough parent representation. It was a lot of employee representation. That's why I really worked hard to get parents involved, right? So by law, the SHAC is supposed to be comprised mostly of parents. And that's why it's really important that you guys are here representing the voice of your school communities and your kids and your households. So you being here is really key in us bringing anything to the board. So I think that from what I understood, I know that there wasn't enough parent representation whenever that was, I think it was a lot of staff there. And although we value very much what staff say, it's not really indicative of the SHAC committee. Yeah. Yes, and I do know that some of the meetings from the past, since you're asking, some of the meetings from the past, the later meetings were kind of merged with some other meetings that they knew parents would be at. So that was another thing that kind of occurred. Well, no, I mean, it would have been communicated to SHAC, but it wasn't a specific SHAC meeting. They just merged the meetings, and that's something we can ask about if that's something you're interested in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I don't think it was intended to be sneaky at all. I think it was intended to just make sure that we had enough representation, enough parents involved with the process before it was brought to the board. I'm not sure if that's why it wasn't brought to the board, but we can certainly try to find out. So, so the last few meetings. Okay. All right, but here's where the SHAC information is on the website. Okay, so in your folder, if you'll take your folder out, I do want to kind of go over the role of what the SHAC does. This kind of goes with two documents here. So there's one page right after the agenda that says making the case for school wellness. So becoming an effective wellness advocate. I just threw this in here. It's from a website called Action for Healthy Kids. But really SHACs in general are based on a CDC model called whole school, whole community, whole child. And there's 10 key school health components. And so when I say I could feed you with a fire hose related to the health in schools, this is why. So it's about health education, the nutrition environment and services, employee wellness, social and emotional school climate, physical environment, health services, counseling, psychological and social services, community involvement, family engagement, physical education, and physical activity. So those are all the things that the CDC says encompass school health, right? And so, so the CDC and this Action for Healthy Kids both kind of say, hey, why schools? Why is it so important that we address health in schools? Well, it says, health should be a part of every school because schools reach most children and adolescents in a community. Schools provide opportunities to practice healthy behaviors, and they spend around 1,200 hours per year in school. Kids do. So teachers, administrators, and school staff are key role models and have an opportunity to partner with families and caregivers. Schools provide institutional approval for many behaviors related to food choices and physical activity. School policies, activities, programs, and practices reinforce the behaviors our children are learning. State curriculum standards for health include nutrition and physical education. So shouldn't our practices and climate reflect those standards rather than conflict with them? So there's a lot of other things here I'm not going to read verbatim, but I put this in here for you just so that you could see why it's important to address wellness in schools. And so this next page, the establishing your priorities, this is also from Action for Healthy Kids, and this is kind of the activity that we're going to do today. It's important to assess what programs and policies that we have in place before we can make plans for new initiatives or, you know, just upgrades to current programs. So there are a lot of assessment tools, but this one right here, we're going to review the list of possible policies and programs. And if we have a concern that's not listed, let's add it to the list. If there's something that you've noticed that you feel is health related, we can add it as a committee to that list, and we can say, hey, we want you to prioritize this along with this list of things that we already have on here. So in the first column, on this little establishing your priorities list, you're going to decide if the topic is a serious issue for your students in your district or your campus that you're representing, right? The higher the number, the more seriously you feel this is something important to have in place. And then the step 2, or the second column, is where you identify if there's a policy or a program in place. Maybe it's being discussed, but not there yet, or maybe there's something in place, but not being implemented. And then part 2 is where you decide if this is something you feel should be worked on immediately. If you are very concerned and feel it should be addressed now, you would strongly agree. And if you feel this is something that could wait until a later time, then you would just score that accordingly. Step 3 is your overall score will help you rank the different priorities of what you feel is going to be important. If multiple people, if we're all scoring, and we will individually, because you guys are representative of elementaries and of middle schools and of high schools, the priorities are going to be a little bit different. Feel free to just, if you don't mind, put the campus that you're representing at the top of your establishing priorities, and that way we just know. And if you just want to put elementary, you don't even have to put the specific campus, or middle school, or high school. Or if you're doing both, you know, you can put them both up there, and that's going to be a little bit harder for you to rank, probably. But remember that we're a district committee, so we are representative of the district. So at some point, we would have to decide on priorities based on all levels. And then this is where you can make notes about each category. Is it in place? Is it something that the school administration is opposed to? Has it been tried before unsuccessfully? Just comments in general. So really quick, I'm going to run you through this this little PowerPoint just to explain this process, okay, before we jump into it. So this is that model I was telling you about, the whole school, whole community, whole child. It's a collaborative approach to learning and health that brings them both together. This is a CDC model, but you can see all the different things that I read off earlier that are involved in health. And so these are the things that we would address, that fire hose I was talking about, and so why we want to actually prioritize some things. So we're going to review some of the strategic issues that SHAC addresses and then rank them according to your priorities, you as the representatives of your campus, parents. The process will help the committee focus on the issues you feel are important related to the district's overall health environment. And the committee can decide on things you would like to have more information about in order to create goals to share and create a tentative timeline goal. So this is a way that we know who would you like to hear from in our district? Who would you like to come in and explain things a little bit more so that we can make decisions or we can make recommendations? Sometimes you need more information that I won't have. Sometimes it's specialty information like curriculum, or it could be food service. I can tell you some basic things that I know, really broad, but if you get too detailed, I'm going to have to bring in the experts for you to address those things. So I just need to find out what's important to you, because there's no way that we could address all of these issues in one-hour meeting. So this is a little excerpt from policy about School Health Advisory Council, but we're established by the board to assist the districts in ensuring that local community values are reflected in the district's health education instruction. So this is policy code EHAA. And if you know anything about district policy, there are 2 different types of policy. There's legal policy and there's local policy. Legal policy is mandated by law. So it's legislated by our government, and so that's something that we have to meet the standards of. So there are, just like the SHAC committee is legislated, so that's why we have a SHAC committee. But then there's local policy that can't, local policy can be more specific, but it can't obviously just override the legislative or the legal portion of the law. So SHAC duties include recommending, and so this is a list, and this is kind of what's on your establishing your priorities list, but I want us to kind of see it overall first so that you can kind of see what we're going to be ranking. So the number of hours of instruction to be provided in a health education in kindergarten through grade 8. If the district requires health education for high school graduation, health education, including physical health education and mental health education in grades 9 through 12. So health education in general, right? The number of hours of instruction. This is policies, procedures, strategies, and curriculum appropriate for specific grade levels designed to prevent physical health concerns, including obesity and cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes and mental health concerns, including suicide, and it's through the coordination of health education, which has to address physical health concerns and mental health concerns, to ensure the integrations of physical health education and mental health education. So physical education and physical activity, nutrition services, parental involvement, which you guys will know a lot about, which is important to us, your site, your viewpoint of how this is in our district. Instruction on substance abuse prevention, school health services, including mental health services, although that we do have the mental health services does fall under counseling in the district. A comprehensive school counseling program under Education Code 33.005, that's a policy. A safe and healthy school environment and school employee wellness also. So SHAC duties to recommend also includes appropriate grade levels and methods of instruction for human sexuality instruction, which is what Ms. Fusco was referring to, because last year, I think they had UT Health come in and present a sexuality curriculum, and so you were here too. It didn't get adopted. I don't know why, but we can find out, and I do know that Monica Garcia, our Director of Counseling Services, will know more about that, and if that's something that we would like to make a priority this year to get that updated, because I think the last adoption that I am aware of was in 2015. Strategies for integrating the curriculum components specified by item 2 above with the following elements in a coordinated school health program. So school health services, including physical health services and mental health services, if provided at a campus by the district or a third party under a contract with the district. We do have some resources that our counseling services work with, so if that's something that you want to know more about, or if you hear about others that you're interested in, what we don't want to do is if we have something sufficient that's already meeting the need, it's not like we need to adopt a second. You know, usually if you have something that you're working with, then that's sufficient. So if we need to find out more about, hey, how are we meeting those needs, or who are we working with, or what are they providing, that's information that can be brought to you. A safe and healthy school environment and school employee wellness. So if feasible, joint use agreements or strategies for collaboration between the district and community organizations or agencies. Any agreement entered into based on recommendations of the SHAC must address liability for the district and community organizations. So strategies to increase parental awareness regarding risky behaviors, early warning signs of suicide risks, and behavioral health concerns, including mental health disorders and substance use disorders. I know vaping is a really big thing amongst all kids, not just Judson, but really it's an epidemic. And vaping, vape pens, yeah, I know that's something that's just really high on the concern for health professionals, for adolescents and kids school age. I'm not saying it's specifically high in Judson. I don't know the numbers, but I do know as a general concern, and I can show you something else on the district webpage that I try to keep updated as far as concerns, health concerns that you guys can pass along to other parents. Available community programs and services that address risky behavior, suicide risks, and behavioral health concerns. Appropriate grade levels and curriculum for instruction regarding opioid addiction and abuse, and methods for administering an opioid antagonist. Appropriate grade levels and curriculum for instruction regarding child abuse, family violence, dating violence, sex trafficking, including likely warning signs that a child might be at risk for sex trafficking, provided the local SHAC's recommendations under this provision do not conflict with the essential knowledge and skills developed by the State Board of Education. This is actually in policy. All the stuff that I'm reading is what's in policy related to what the SHAC does. So SHAC addresses needs related to, there's all these departments, right? Nutrition services, physical education, employee wellness, counseling, psychological and social services, social and emotional climate, and health services. So here's our little establishing your priorities chart. So under nutrition services, things to consider and rank for importance would be like vending policies or policies on parties and fundraisers, universal breakfast, discourage food as a reward. If any of these kind of rank high in your concern level, then that's something that you would rank higher. Things to consider and rank for importance related to PE would be like our recess policy or guidelines on MVPA. I went ahead and because I didn't know what MVPA was, and I'm like, what is that? So I put a little link in here because I thought you guys might have the same question. And so this is the Catch website. MVPA, what is it? There it is. So it's moderate to vigorous physical activity. MVPA for short is any activity that gets your heart beating faster and where your breathing becomes heavier. It varies based on person's fitness level, but for most kids, is exercise at least as strenuous as a brisk walk or a bicycle ride. So, and there's, CDC recommendations for children and adolescents to get at least 60 minutes of MVPA per day. So they have this little body cues handout that teaches kids signs of MVPA, like a warm face and faster heartbeat and breathing harder and sweating. It's like how kids are when they come in from playing and you're like, oh, like red face and kind of sweaty, and that's MVPA. And then it kind of talks about why that's important, like jump roping. So this would be like PE, and it talks about how it's measured, and then MVPA and physical education classes. So there are national PE guidelines, but that is one of the things, guidelines on MVPA. And then PE graduation requirement. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Well, so only to the point that doesn't conflict with the law, because it is very regulated. What the dietary department can actually provide is very regulated. So we can state our opinion as much as we want, and we can try to stay within the guidelines, but we do have a lot of federal regulation regarding the dietary requirements in schools and what we serve. The same thing with like the vending policies. It can't be in competition with the healthy food that we're serving in the cafeteria. So it can only be, and like fundraising, it can only be a certain number of hours whenever it's in competition with healthy food, because we don't want the kids to be at school and choose the chocolate bars over the healthy lunch, right? They can get full on vending machine food and the fundraiser chocolate or chips or popcorn versus eating the healthier meal. So we can make recommendations, but again, if that's something that you feel is important, then I would bring in dietary to explain what are the federal guidelines and what leniency are we allowed. Is there anything else we can offer? And you can ask questions like, hey, can we have more pizza? Like, can we serve pizza for breakfast? Is that well-rounded? I mean, if that's important to you, then we can certainly bring it to the experts in the district regarding those sorts of things. Sure. And then employee wellness, things to consider and rank for importance would be that the district encourages staff to participate in wellness programs, offer staff free or low-cost physical activity or fitness programs, offer staff tobacco use cessation programs, counseling, psychological, and social services. Things on this chart to consider and rank for importance, again, would be student support teams on campuses. I will say, with the climate of school districts right now, there is a lot of emphasis on this and a lot of requirements by the state and by TEA. So right now, we have threat assessment teams on every campus, and that's similar to student support, but we do have a lot of support in schools right now and I kind of put right here under the provide mental and social services to students. We have counselors and social workers and LSSPs. We have CIS, which is communities and schools, that kind of help with that social working aspect to give resources. We have, agreements with outside agencies like the San Antonio Wellness Collaborative. If you wanted to know more about these things, that would be Monica Garcia or somebody from the counseling department could come in and explain what's in place for those to make sure that you feel that those needs are being met. Social and emotional climate, things to consider and rank for importance would be policies and procedures on bullying, policies on other violence prevention, prevention policies, programs on cyberbullying, the physical environment, access to free drinking water, which I can say has gotten better since COVID is not as big of a deal. COVID's not gone, certainly, but it definitely is. We have vaccinations and we have lots of things in place. We have lots of cleaning products. We still have a health grant in place that's giving us cleaning supplies. And people have just learned in general, like and it's helping with things like flu and all the things that schools normally saw. All those numbers went down because we were educated on COVID, and it really helped us in all the other contagious disease areas as well. So the access to free drinking water has gone up. We had to close down the water fountains for a while because of COVID. They are opened back up. So joint use agreement with community environmentally friendly pest treatment programs, that would be a completely different department, but also, part of a healthy environment. Community involvement, things to consider and rank for importance would be access to school facilities for physical activity, community involvement in decision making. Do you feel the community is involved? Positive communication set up with the community related to health. Things to consider and rank for importance about family engagement would be families engaged in meaningful ways. Relationship between school staff and families reinforces students' health. Family involvement in decision-making and positive communication set up with families. Health services, school nurse on each campus, free or reduced price on physicals or free or reduced price on vaccinations. Here are some of the resources that I used that are really great for creating priorities. Some of the things, there's this one for Texas specifically. It's Time Texas. Texas is best when Texans are healthy. And so this is just kind of like a nonprofit agency just really interested in healthy Texans, which would include recommendations to schools and SHACs. So that's kind of what we're going to do today, the establishing your priorities. I did want to show you real quick while you're in here, the other part of the health services webpage. If you look right here, the current health topics, there are some things here. So fentanyl, of course, became an issue because of some things that happened in neighboring school districts, but it's certainly a concern. And so there's some facts up here about fentanyl. Monkeypox was a little bit of a scare there for a little while. So there's some monkeypox information from the Texas Department of State Health Services. It is out there. We don't have anything that here in Judson right now. And then this is just the COVID policies down here. So this is this current health topic. If there's something that comes up that the state is recommending that we share, or that's really a hot topic in the news or something like that, we try to keep this updated so that parents can go see some reputable websites.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
I thought about this earlier. I think on our campus, I wonder why it is that when we host like open houses, if the committee can make recommendations like bullet our priorities, why don't we make a more concerted effort to make sure that this information, these services, at least that our families know that these services are accessible at the start of the semester rather than when we're finishing try to finish
So accessible services proactively versus reactively is kind of what you're saying. I do know they tried to pull in a ton of resources and services at the block party. I don't know if you guys remember getting all the information about the block party at the very beginning of the year. They had tons of vendors and tons of schools and lots of things there. So those are kind of some of the creative ways I know the district tries to address things like that. Certainly it does come out reactively too, because we want to make sure that people who truly need the services are connected to the services. And so it's not always it's not always just out there for everyone, but I hear what you're saying. So I can talk about the accessible services, and you're talking specifically about mental health services?
Mental health, whatever resources. I know a lot of our families are just kind of, a lot of times school runs, just having services. Provide whatever. I just think a lot of our families are not so informed. And we just need to have this information. You have access, you know what I don't know, maybe even some of these meetings where we can, even our parents, maybe have some sort of graphic that we can remind parents or, most everyone has technology at their
The means, or life just has a tendency to, and I know this is not probably everybody's situation, but speaking from the exposure to, that we have with our families are just kind of like, I'm just sending my kid to school, but
Yeah.
I
It's
have,
getting the parent involvement that is what I see at the high school level. It's that we can, we just had a counseling meeting over at Wagner, and there were maybe, 15 people in the audience?
wow,
So it's hard to get,
A lot of reason why parents don't get involved. But that new law is that if you spank your kids, so like in my household too, it's still going in my house, same household. So you get people, other people involved in your household, you open up verbs or something, it may not be a problem. You know how to discipline your kid, but somebody else may think they discipline. I with my kids, people say, oh Lord, she opened her kid, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Then it goes first, asking questions. Some people don't want you in their household. You mind your business, because I have my kid, because if I don't send my kid get to school, you're gonna be calling me this, this, that. So a lot of parents are like, okay, I just don't want you in my business. So they don't want to come and participate, because you're gonna ask more questions, you're gonna do this. You just let them know, this, and
That's
that.
true.
There's certain,
yeah.
I would say this, it's just certain cultures. Be disciplined with it. Everybody will say go to the corner, or you say it's a timeout. You take your car away from you, don't do this, this, that. It don't work there. Some households don't do that. Some kids get spanked. I'm a spanker, so they're spanking. So my thing is, though, you have the kids say, oh, what happened here? Oh, my mom was spanking. The teacher say, oh, you beat it.
CPS, I get it.
You spanked it. That's what we do in our household. But that's what people don't want you in the business, because you take a spanking, a simple spanking, take it more than what it is that tumbleweed gets small and it gets rolling. And so that's what people don't want to come, because they know you're going to take something simple and make it worse. So people don't want to get involved in that.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point, but having the information available, I
Yeah.
think, is very important.
yeah,
So maybe something along the line, so the students have to sign a handbook. Maybe there is one dedicated, like just, it could be online or paper, whatever.
Resources.
But
Just a resources
parent
handbook.
resources, this is available to you. And then what they do with it, well, then that's,
What if
you
you
can
sent
lead the
home
horse
a
to water.
newsletter monthly, with the same information?
I think
Sent
there-
it monthly.
There is
They
a
do.
family
They do?
newsletter
Yeah.
sent out by the superintendent. Yeah.
They're tired.
Yeah, they're tired, yeah.
Keep them out of trouble and make them live till they get 18 plus. That's why the grandparents, they might, is that, I gotta be a grandmother, but I wanna make sure my grandbaby is grown. I don't marry my grandchild before this, so it's a lot of things, just culture wise, that's what they do. You don't wanna do that, so you gotta do this, that.
I'm just thinking like creatively, how the district did the block party and I saw the sponsors, all of that was great. But if, prime time, when do we see a majority, the parents have to come, they don't have to, but most parents come, the open house,
To keep the posters at the school.
or something that it says,
Yeah.
hey, if you are in need of, or if, you know what I mean?
Well, like, for
I
instance,
really have thought about, like, at those open houses where a parent has to sit down with someone.
Yeah.
And, and just, make contact with
They do
somebody.
like the weekly phone calls to tell about the upcoming week, and
Right.
even just
Oh,
including,
like call out?
yeah, like the recordings, like
Oh,
every
yeah,
week, like
yeah.
they'll do the weekly phone calls or emails every week, just saying, this is what's going on this next week, just including a little link
Blurb.
to a resource here's some things you can do to find out about more about
That's
mental health
good.
resources.
Yeah.
or
That's good.
website.
Yeah.
Let me show you guys just a couple of things on the district
That's good,
website
Jen.
really quick, so that, and I hear you, I think they're all really great ideas. I love what you're bringing, and I have taken some notes on some of the things that you've said and the concerns and how to reach people, because I know a lot of things are technology-based right now, but not everybody has the technology to really read it. This right here on the health services webpage where we just were, here's the staff, and so you can see that there's nurses on all the campuses. A couple of them just kind of need to be filled, but we're working on it. So we do have the position available on every campus here. The other thing is, if you go to departments, this is the Judson ISD webpage. So under, if you go under guidance and counseling, there will be some things here about that they have, so like mental wellness. Here are some safety resources and community collaborations. They have a lot of that stuff here online. I don't know if it's, so like student mental wellness resources is right here. And then obviously contacting the person at the school, the representatives, either the nurse for SHACs or the counselor for counseling services if you want to ask them. But a lot of times on these department web pages, so another department that's has a lot of information on it would be the child nutrition right over here. But you can kind of look at these information-rich websites. There's also, each school representative. So if you look at, let's just go back to home here. And you'll have to forgive me, the webpage just got updated, so I'm kind of, it's a little bit different, and so I'm kind of, it's not right where it used to be. But right up here at the top right, there's the JISD schools, and there's a link to every one of the schools. And so each school also has its own webpage. And they will have kind of different resources and about us and information that you can get on the web pages.
Oh, yeah, I think we just got our new website, right? Judson just got
Yeah,
our-
yeah,
We just
yeah.
got our website.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I got
this is,
something-
that's what
we got
this
our own
is.
website
That's
now.
what this is. So those are a few ways that you can see, but I do love the ideas that you guys brought. Okay, if we could kind of transition to this establishing your priorities page, if you want to pull that out. I just want you to really, you might feel free to talk amongst yourselves about what people's are. If you want to do it individually, if not, really collaborate with one another. But I think it'd be really great to collaborate with each other and continue the discussion that you guys have continued.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So I came in late. I work with Student Family Support Services. Miss Garcia wasn't able to come.
Oh,
And so I kind of wanted to just, I'm one of the district social workers.
Oh,
And
great.
so I kind of heard everybody talking. And so we're doing like parent table talks. We do them once a month. And so I really want to hear about like, how do we get that information out? Because we've had several and our trend hasn't been very well.
I didn't know we had any.
Table what?
Yeah, where are they?
Table talks. We put it on our website. I want to hear like, how do we get that information out? Like,
Yeah, no, I agree.
So-
with that.
Well, I
Social
know-
media and the webpage are up, and then there is a parent newsletter.
Yes,
every-
and so, and our department has a newsletter too that we
See,
send.
I've never seen that.
Me either.
But,
I've never seen that.
so the thing is, and I guess it's the question is, we've been told like, parents don't want phone calls.
I
They
don't.
see
A
that it's
text.
just an ISD, and so they don't want a phone call. Emails, like sometimes that they don't answer emails, or they don't
Right.
answer.
I don't.
Or they go to.
Well, I know when you sign your kids up for school, you have the option to decide if you want a phone call, an email, or paper. So I think it just depends on what the parent chooses, because I have all
Can I
three.
make a suggestion as a group of what I feel like our conversation is really steered around, or really geared around, I suppose, would be communication of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
resources available. If
Yeah.
that's a priority for this group, like, how can the district, because we want to get that information to you. We do have resources available, we do have newsletters, and we have table talks, and we have block party. I mean, they put a lot of effort in all these things. I have, we have created immunization clinics on days, but a lot of times it's just, how do we get the information to parents in a way that they will read it? And I do realize it's going to be different in every household, Some are going to prefer a text, some are going to prefer this way and that way. If you guys have any ideas, or if that's something that you would like to explore as a committee, so that at least what we do have in place gets in your laps, that might be huge.
As opposed to adding something new or changing, it's getting people the information of what is it already.
Right.
And sometimes
goes, like, I haven't seen that in Indiana, and I'm sure some not there too, but, sometimes stuff goes to junk, so you don't even know you missed something unless somebody says, oh, did you blah, blah, blah. And then you check your junk.
I am, speaking for myself, and I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, but I am overwhelmed by first of all, the number of platforms that teachers use. For instance, I'm getting newsletters from Class Dojo, then I get newsletters from Google Classroom, and then I get from Network Guy or something, so it's like 3 different platforms that I gotta check, and to be honest, man, sometimes I just don't even answer.
I don't
Yeah.
answer no email.
It's just overwhelmed, it's too much, I miss the days where like it was all like, hey, well, just right there, you could just, if you care, you show up, that's kind of
Yeah.
my thing, if you don't care about your kids, if you don't, and I'm just speaking for myself, you get what you put in,
But how sometimes families just don't otherwise know.
Well, and the other thing is paper that goes home doesn't always get read,
No,
right? Like,
right.
it goes in the junk or
Yeah.
the trash, and that's expensive. So one of the reasons why,
I see.
there's a big push for social media or on the district
Digital.
website is it doesn't cost anything to do that. And so just to protect the funding from a standpoint of, is that really doing good anyway? And it's costing lots of money to do it. If it were the way to do it, if
Yeah.
everybody got the information that way, then certainly the district wouldn't mind doing it. But I think that can be rather wasteful. So,
Just piggybacking, I think call out is huge, love it. Our campus, we almost rely on it. But I see, if I see the 945, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, exactly. Is it the nurse? So I'm waiting for a voicemail, and a text to follow. That's just me. But I think an excerpt or something, even if it's something that we want to invite families to or announce about, hey, we're doing our table talks. If you're interested, click here, something to that effect, because if families have anything, it's one of these, even if,
here's something else that's just an idea I'm gonna throw out there,
Yeah.
discussing with the group. I know that, so I sign up for the DSHS newsletter, the Department of State Health Services, and if you think that health encompasses a lot in schools, like,
Yeah.
when you're talking about health for the state, it is a laundry list of things, and some of it, I care, but I'm like, I can't, it would be like a fire hose, and I'm like, I can't care about that until I need to know about it, and then but there are other things that are very pertinent to me and my job and what I do, and so it allows me to go and check, like, what things I would like to receive information on, and kind of, so I don't know if that's even, I'm kind of speaking out there, I don't even know if it's a possibility. But it might be something that we could explore, if that would be, if you want to know about mental health services and, grades and what's important to you to hear information about versus somebody else who wants to know nutrition guidelines, and there's so many different departments. And then if you want to know it all, like, sign up for it all kind of thing, but it's just, I don't know if it's possible, but if it were, that might be a cool way.
Tracking down to, like, who you need to talk to.
Yes.
Like, I was trying to, I forget what it was, but get with somebody, and they were like, oh, you need so-and-so, so they transferred me to so-and-so. She's like, no, that's not me. And so she transferred, and it's like,
Yeah.
and so if it's, and I don't know, that might be along the lines of like streamlining stuff and knowing what's out there, like, this is the head of this, this is the head of this, or.
Do you guys have a Facebook page?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yep,
have all
we got all
sorts
those
of social
sources.
media. All sorts of social media, but the website, like I said, is information rich. If you go to those departments, a lot of times you'll see the staff and you're able to email them, or you can call up and ask specifically to that person. But if you guys don't mind taking a look at this, and let's just start for, hey, this is a very serious issue. So let's add, if we would, if we could, let's add under, maybe family engagement. Family engagement is on the 3rd page, so to be in the back of the 1st page. At the very bottom, page 3 is family engagement. If you guys want to add, communication streamline, I think that would be a good way to,
Well, on the next page,
communication of resources.
is that the same thing as positive communication set up with family on the following page at the top?
we could, I mean,
Is that considered the same thing or no?
and maybe, I mean, if you want to put it under that, and then you could put resources available, like in parentheses, we could do that. I mean, yeah, it definitely falls in that realm, because positive community would be resources available to you that we partner with or that we have within the districts. So, I would just put in parentheses, resources.
So what if we don't know if this is, like, these things are available
So
at
what
the
do you,
school?
what,
Yeah, like, so,
like which question?
well, I mean, really anything, any one of them.
Yeah, we haven't scouted the schools that we have.
The ones that.
Because I don't see no
not in
vending
place,
machine at our
that
school.
do not in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I mean, you know,
So let's kind of skip, how about this?
Yeah, I don't
How
like
about
that
this is a-
column.
How about this is a working document?
Okay.
That let's rank it, let's make this meeting step one. And then
Fine.
the things that you are interested in, then you can bring this back, you know. And if you would like to take this with you and scan it to me, or I can take it with me and scan it back to you and your email, we can do it that way. And then that way, whenever we have these people come back, you can decide, we don't have this in place, or I feel this is underdeveloped, or, you know what I'm saying? So you might need more information than I can provide today on how much we have available in that area. So maybe let's just rank them by importance first. That will determine who we bring in to talk to you about that area, and then you guys can rank it. And then, like, if you say, wow, it's fully in place, I just didn't know how to tap into that. And then we make a new priority based on, wow, it's fully in place, how do we make sure this gets to people? You know what I'm saying?
so before we start that, two questions. One, we definitely, I think, 4 meetings is not enough. Is anybody opposed to meeting like monthly?
I do. I do. That's too much.
What if we made the
My
meeting
plate's
longer?
full.
Could we do that?
Or that, or
We're
longer?
already longer, so if you guys are okay with a little bit longer meetings, like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe an
because
hour
there's
and a half.
no way,
An hour and a half?
Yeah, I can't.
Especially we running behind, we kind of get a little,
Yeah,
still get some knowledge.
yes.
Yeah.
So
so,
hour and a half meetings?
and then the other thing is it gonna be, since you're leaving, that we're gonna do all this work, and then next time it's gonna be like, oh, that doesn't count?
I can't say what will happen, but I can say that I will pass on the information.
Can we maybe, is there a likelihood that we may commit to like virtual meeting?
I could do, I just think
okay.
we need to meet more. I
More
don't
than
think 4
just 4
meetings
yeah,
is gonna be
exactly.
enough to
I think it's the
address
space
all the
between,
stuff. There's so many
Well,
Let's
important
go in
things.
two, virtual. That's
So you
6.
guys would want to supplement by virtual meetings?
I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't know how everybody else
So
feels.
1.5
but-
hour meetings in person.
An
and
hour and a
then
half,
supplement
hour.
with-
I want hour virtual. An hour virtual.
I would do anything that would make us, work on this more, because I know, like,
But are virtual productive?
I mean, so
I
as long
think-
as we have like an agenda and
And
we
you're put,
adhere to, yeah, I don't see why not.
or
I
even
have to
if
have
we
my
would have
meetings
made the.
outside because I have 4 kids and
That's
they are
what I think.
crazy.
My kids are little,
Yeah.
I would not be productive.
What if we made the virtuals, the presentations, so that when we're in person, we get down to the nitty-gritty and the decision-making?
Oh, that's a good idea.
How does
I think that's good.
that sound okay?
I think the person we should be productive of what we're gonna do. I mean, we can throw ideas virtual, but we come to our in-person meeting, we should be able to nail something down.
Okay.
So
And that
the
way,
meetings in person would be presenters and ask questions.
Yeah, to
Like
lock
it would
stuff
be
in.
the people who presented
virtual.
the time before. Well, the presenter would be virtual, but then the in-person, they would come.
Oh,
so
and
you
then
could
we
ask
hash
Yeah.
things out.
Yeah, because if you
Right,
had
then it's
questions for
quicker,
that
yeah.
specific person, it's a good
Yeah.
idea. I can pitch that. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
Because a lot of times they come and then we trying to figure out, they say, oh, the next time I come, I get to know, we want you to, you already know what we talk about. When you come to the next meeting, we want answers.
Right, and that way now let's get crazy. Maybe they could even record the presentations, right? And that way people can watch
Made
it
available.
whenever they have the time, and we can knock out 2 or 3 things in one
That works out
meeting.
easier, because I work nights at the hospital.
Yeah.
And like, it's hard enough making my schedule for the 4.
Yes,
Because I
that's
have
what I
to
said.
leave by like 6:15.
Right, right.
So,
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah?
No, I think it's a good idea. I
Okay.
think you guys are full of good ideas. I
Yeah.
appreciate all
But
the
we just,
dialogue.
let's go, we got work to do.
Yeah, if you want to rank, right
Okay.
now, let's just do step one of this, because really, that's gonna be what we.
I know, right?
focus on. But I think with the resources, I think that's huge. I think that you guys really tapped into something there as a unified
No, they're more
voice.
than 17.
You guys are all in agreement that we don't know what's available.
So there are more than 17. So something might be like, there might be two.
Or we don't rank
So
something.
random. So we're only
Yeah,
choosing
just pick
17
your
to
top
rank.
17, and you don't all have to agree. This can be individually.
I thought we were listing everything.
No, I mean, there could be something that you just leave off. as
Oh,
a
me,
non
that's what I
priority.
started doing. I'm like, that's a 17, that's a 17, that's a 17.
No,
we're
rank
only
them 1 to
picking
7.
So 1, 2,
and rank them.
3, 4,
That's-
that's it? Oh, that's
It's
hard.
It is hard,
I
it
get
is
that
hard,
now.
but I mean, really, like, we have
Okay.
to focus, right? Like, we have
parents
to,
Okay.
we have to bring some focus to these
At least
meetings
that one.
and
Yes.
figure out what's important to you.
And if we don't rank it, that means like,
It doesn't,
I don't know.
it doesn't mean that later, like, what if something comes up? I mean, like,
This girl.
but I
know
actually
that
get
COVID
unranked.
was gonna hit us ever, right? That would have become a really big deal. Like, it's not, this doesn't mean.
Oh my
that we
gosh,
will
I need
ever
to see these all in a
big
row.
that comes
This
up.
is hard.
I know.
I almost need to transpose them onto one sheet so I can just, yeah.
Feel free to rip it apart. Feel free to rip it apart. Yeah, but there are a lot of federal guidelines related
No,
to
I
that
just
too, so you have to qualify and all those things, but sometimes.
What does that speak to, though?
Sometimes districts subsidize breakfasts and that sort of thing, so that would be like, do you feel that every kid needs breakfast? I don't even know if it's possible, so this is me speaking out
Like,
of my,
yeah,
out of my expertise.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's something that you feel is important for every child to have a free breakfast, I will get somebody that knows the information about that and tell you the legislative requirements and what could be done. Just put it in your ring.
I think every school has the free breakfast though
No.
for everybody, right?
I do know quite a few,
Lunches,
but I don't know how
lunches.
many.
Okay, all right,
I don't know how many.
okay. 15.
This is how we decide who will come.
So 17 be the most important, no, 17 equal most serious, okay. 1 through 17.
Would the policy on PA as punishment, are you talking about
It's
enforcing and making doing push-ups? Or are you talking about when they take away recess from their only 15 minutes of recess?
That's interesting. And I
That's
don't,
where my mind went to, taking it away, like.
That
don't take it away.
drives me nuts, because it's
No,
like,
I
my kids are
know,
coming
right.
home and they're like, oh, the whole class
Yeah.
was acting
I'm
up. They made
sitting
us
on the
all
bench.
stay
Yep.
in,
Yep.
And they
That's
only
gonna help
get
behavior.
15 minutes of recess.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy, they
Yep.
need a whole hour to be, especially the
We
elementary.
all got like 30 minutes and,
Yeah.
you know, at least growing up, but the kids.
And
High
we had
school,
the,
they
we
don't
had
need
I
to
to
do
think
the
if you're concerned
MVPA.
about either of those things, you rank it,
Yeah.
and then you ask those questions whenever they come in about what the policy is and what recommendations.
This is more difficult than I thought.
Okay, yeah, I don't think high school, they don't need to be recommended, they need to go to work. They got
I know I'm
time.
asking a lot of you, and I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to think, this is a lot.
It is a lot.
So let me ask this as well.
When is the next table talk? That's the real question.
Oh, she would know, because she's at the office.
Oh, she has to.
When is the next table talk?
It is November. So originally what we did is we set them up and we did one in person and one Zoom and the next one in person. So our first Zoom, like, so then we did it in person, in October and we had more people come. So then we thought in November instead of doing Zoom, we're gonna do it in person. Do you think it's better to have them in person?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
And the meetings are publicized where? Just on the,
It's all over, obviously, but if they aren't getting it, it's not doing its job. Social media, we put on our website, we put on a
Where is it
newsletter.
on the website? So I can pull it up.
What's the date? That was my question.
Like the guidance and
So
count.
let me-
So again, what I
17.
was saying about,
Most
anytime you're
serious.
on, let's go off again. Sorry, guys. My little thing goes to sleep here. Having mouse issues. Oh,
Can you give an example of a joint use agreement with the community, like schools partnering up with like local businesses or something?
oh, say that again?
An example of a joint use agreement with the community?
SHAC approved health curriculum.
Maybe like YMCA or somebody like
Oh,
using the
okay.
buildings.
Like,
Tell me to turn it off and back on. Yeah, it just works, sorry. Okay, if you go to the home, I'm on the Converse Elementary webpage right now, but if you go to this little house, that's like going home to the district
I'll make
webpage.
sure on this, so 17.
And
is
again,
most
under
serious, like
departments.
17, 16.
Right,
like that?
exactly.
Okay.
So there's some that won't have a response.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, ma'am?
When you go home to the district webpage, home, like the district website, not the campus, and you go to departments right here. She was saying to go to guidance and counseling. Okay, tell me where.
For the tabletop, right? Tabletop.
Yes, so originally we had it called parent meetings, but then there was a lot of like, parent meetings and different people. Usually we have a lot of, I don't know, so this website's new too, so I don't know.
The website's brand new. So I was trying to open up all these little. Is it up here in the? We will find out. I'll find out and I'll email you that information, where to find Table Talk.
So, and because we have a flyer, that goes out as well, and so it's gonna be on the 29th.
The next meeting?
Yes, ma'am. It's 6 to 7, it's gonna be at Kittyhawk Middle School.
what is that, like,
Six.
is it applicable to everybody, or like?
Well, so last month we did, substance use, and then the month before we had engagement.
Sorry, where?
Kitty Hawk?
It was about anxiety. And then this coming month, it's about, community health and wellness. So we do like different topics. We've tried to kind of also get an idea of like what parents wanted to know about, so that we could bring people in. Sorry, I didn't mean to kind of take over.
Oh, no.
So we
They
have a
asked.
collaborative that we're working with that offers us resources outside the school, for counseling, things like that. So they actually come in and do our presentations for us. So we have agencies that are coming in, we have professionals that are coming in to talk about these topics, to be able to help parents. So last month we had with the auditorium, but we really wanted it more, I guess, kind of
Intimate.
quaint and, you know, like, so we can have parents actually talking amongst themselves. So that's why we decided to do it at Kitty Hawk, in the cafeteria. And it's a 20 minute. But I do, like, so I'm glad I'm here because I really want to make sure that we're getting this information out because we have a ton of information. We just obviously aren't doing what we need to be doing to make sure parents are learning.
And these are not the parenting classes, right, that they,
No, sir.
But that would be, I mean, I remember when Coach, who facilitated last year, exactly, I specifically remember a flyer that she presented about the flag football. And we took that back on campus. It was reproduced. We put it in each of the kids' boxes. And I believe Mrs. Garza also did a call out. They're so helpful, and it may not bring parents in mass, but I'm sure, so as long as, and not to say that the PTO has to be the direct contact on campus, but if PTOs have the information, I mean, yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, 'cause
Well,
we're
and it's
running
interesting that you say that. because
exactly.
Last month when we were trying to get the information out, we met with our communications department. We were like, how do we get this information out? And so they sent it in an email, and like 5 parents that night came in, they were like, well, just because I just got the email. But it was just done that day.
Yeah.
So we just got information that we could actually do it like that.
I see.
So it's gonna go out an email. But again, you know, we were talking about calling, parents were like, well, I don't answer it if I see it.
I do, I get nervous, like, when
Exactly. That's always my first thing.
Well, and I think because also we have college.
What's a universal breakfast?
And so for high school, like you get a call.
I think
for
that's
every
the free
class
breakfast.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
That's
period. So they're
different.
like, okay, I just want my kid to see
Yeah.
it, or my kid just didn't show up.
I was like,
I know
these
my kid
bag
got
of
sick,
breakfast,
so of course,
reduce.
he's not there Friday.
Is there a different number you all can call from?
I can ask.
That might help. Because I think if people have memorized the first number, like, okay, my kid's skipping class, cool. But then if there's another number, like 945, like, what is this? So then, yeah.
But sometimes it's that attendance thing that drives you crazy, your kid in school, they swear up and down he ain't in school. They like, come on, for real, I'm in the school, he in the school, and then I get a phone call like, we're here.
Hey guys, to hold this meeting for an hour and a half, we have about 10 minutes. If you get done with yours and if you want me to send it to you, you will have to put your name on it. I appreciate Mrs. Wagner, but I just want to take these priorities and kind of, I'll create a little diagram and I can send that to you on how you guys prioritize it.
Do we have to find 17? I can only think of 7.
No,
Okay.
no, you don't have to go all the way to 17.
I need more time to think of this stuff, child, this is.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
If you want to take it with you and send it to me later, that's okay too. You don't have to finish it right this second. If you need
Were you
dinner
part
first.
of the last year's SHAC?
But today we're staying an hour and a half?
Can I ask you a
Well,
question?
we're already almost there, so
Oh.
it's already almost 7. We went over a little bit, I apologize. Feel free to get up and leave when you.
You were at the whole thing, right? We
You
were
kidding me? Go back to my kids? No way.
Like, I don't even know if this is in place or not.
Yeah, she said, Corrales or Morales?
Corrales, Coach Corrales,
She came in and said, everything you guys did.
Was that before or
boy,
after? Did I tell you about her?
Nothing's gonna come of it,
She's
nothing's
so
gonna happen.
committed to.
But I went to a board meeting, and they said, yeah, we took recommendations from SHAC. So
I
what
appreciate it. So she,
recommendations were made to the board
it's
in the name of, it sounded like we approved something,
So
we
for
were
this
told.
one where it says,
oh, that should be how it works.
she was there.
Not to make this more difficult for you,
Okay.
but you're supposed to rank on 1 to 17, just 17 things, but rank them. So not everything can be 17. You have to pick a 1, 17, a 1, 16. 17's most important.
Oh, gotcha,
16 next, 15.
Gotcha.
I mean, sorry.
That's okay.
I know I'm asking a lot.
So I wondered
Yes, ma'am.
what they meant that
No,
we
you're fine.
did
for the
recommend.
community involvement, where it says like, assuming like,
Yeah. So
Like
when
walk the
school's done.
track, or yes, yes,
day by
yes.
day. So
Like track, or like aerobics classes, or like gladiator, or, you know, things like stuff like
Very
that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing-
well, then that wouldn't be
I
important.
just wanna make
You know what I
sure
mean,
we
like
weren't
access to school
misrepresenting.
facilities, and it might be, and
Yeah,
that might be something that can't be done right now.
you got a good.
And it wouldn't be during the school day, whenever kids are in school.
Right.
It would be before or after hours, generally speaking.
I didn't even have water, we have breakfast.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
And if y'all ever have questions, anything you're not getting answered, my name is Amber Palmer. I work for Student Family Support Services. I'll ask her, and I'll do whatever I can to help you.
Now I will never forget your last name is Palmer. I will never.
Excuse me, y'all.
Like I said, I really so appreciate y'all coming. Really nice to meet you guys tonight. If y'all have any questions this week about any of this and you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. The meeting agenda and the recording will be on the website where I showed you under SHAC. And then I will make sure to pass along the information that you guys were concerned about and this information. And then it'll be available by phone to my colleagues. So,
And it has to be a nurse that runs it?
no.
As a student,
No, this is the number of you here.
I had another question, about
Alma, you were on.
earlier,
hearing?
when they suggested that they wanted to do like the virtual and then the in-person, what's the time frame in between those two meetings?
Yeah.
Would you like it to be?
I mean,
January
I don't know,
17th.
I wouldn't want it to go like between,
Yeah, month between, likely.
so if we have a virtual meeting, we'll wait a month before we come in for our.
I can't see having more than one meeting a month. I just don't think I think it's a lot to ask of parents. Me if I'm wrong.
Too much.
What was it?
Please, I'm sorry.
I feel, see,
Oh,
you know,
no,
where
that's
I've
too
been
much.
before,
Oh, did I
where
kick
I've
you?
been
I'm sorry.
before, it was hard to have for a year. So, it can happen, but it's just people get busy. And it's not that you
but if we can get the presentation,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I mean, even if we had, you know, 2 or 3 of them,
Yeah.
then at that next meeting, then we could just,
I think it's
vote.
a great idea, yeah.
I mean, then, I mean.
Yeah, I don't mind
potentially
that,
we
but I
can-
was just wondering what the time frame in between the two would be. Because I don't want to have like a presentation and then like we have to wait a month
Right,
later to
right.
ask a question,
Right.
so.
Well, then I'm sure we could probably, would it be okay, like, well.
Yes, please, thank you.
We could probably say, these are the questions
Yeah.
that I want answers to. But I'm with you, I'd come every week.
I wouldn't go that far.
I just want to see your list of committee participate, I'm just curious to know how you're so hands in every pot.
To me, the last couple of years were so eye-opening that I think we have to,
That's good.
we, as parents, we have to get in and do this.
I commend you, I do. That's-
Because I stopped working when my daughter started high school, and so I didn't know anything before that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think it's so important to get the parents in the know,
Yeah.
because these are our babies. Like, before that, I just sent them to school and didn't think about anything.
That's great, you're engaged.
So-
There are a lot of people in the school district who care like
I know that, but they're still my kids.
I did that too, and I totally
But no,
understand where you're coming from.
yes.
But please know that there are a lot of people
Oh.
who really want your kids to be safe and well,
Yes.
and we spend our entire day just engaged in that, so.
And it's, what do they say, like, the rank and file are awesome, you know?
Yeah. Safe, well, and
So we
educated.
know, that's right,
Educated.
that's right.
For sure, that's like the mission of the district. So
Right.
if you guys are done, this meeting is adjourned.
Oh my God, I was recording.
Formally so, and if you have any questions in the meantime, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry about the door, we'll figure that out too for the next time, so Mr. Manning, manning the door. Yes, thank you.
No problem.
My email address is just
JustAnID.org?
17 most important, right? Mr. Manning,
I'm sorry?
17 is the most important.
Yes.
Okay, making sure. Got it.
And so when are we bidding you farewell?
Now, tonight, good luck.
We'll see you at Children's, we'll have to stop by.
Yeah, please do.
You guys have a good night.
Are you too? Have a good one.
Right, exactly.